All right. You want to intro this?
Yes. Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax.
Yeah, welcome. This is a little bit different than our usual episodes because this is our first panel. It's not my first panel, it's Aisha's first panel.
It is my first panel, yes.
Happy to be popping your cherry as usual.
Hey.
We're going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to both of our hearts, which is proper Fujoshi etiquette. You know, we're here at FujoCon, super happy to be here. And I know we're both proud of being Fujos. But with that pride, we have both noticed what we'll lovingly call some wildin'. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree.
Yeah, there's
out here in these streets.
There's some of us in the community. Names are not going to be named. But some of us do be wildin'. So with that in mind, we're going to have a little semi-satirical etiquette lesson. For those of you who are new to us, Aisha and I are hosts of the Yaoi Shelf, where we try to talk about boys' love.
Emphasis on try. I mean, we succeed sometimes.
You know what? I will say sometimes. This is also very funny to me because as a Southern debutante, I've done many etiquette lessons, and most of them, I promise, are not going to be this fun. So, what is the Fujoshi? Who are we, and what do we do? Yes, I have some real TED Talk realness for you guys. I will happily accept any snaps for these graphics.
I mean, look at it. Look at
that, guys.
It's like the rainbow. It's so pretty. The colors.
Thank you.
I stand.
I do this for you all. Yes. So Fujoshi, for those of you who are not aware, comes from Aisha Pop Quiz.
It comes from a Japanese word that means, is it rotten woman?
Yes!
Yay!
That brief moment of genuine panic.
I did!
Oh my God, I forget! That millisecond of actual fear.
The deer, like
was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, my face does not hide anything.
I mean, fair. When you say don't put someone on the spot, and you literally put someone on the spot. So, Fujoshi, as Aisha said lovingly, comes from the Japanese word for lewd or corrupted woman or rotten woman. There's a bunch of myriad definitions for it. Essentially, it boils down to something vaguely misogynistic.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, like, because Fujoshi it has a very polarizing, I think, definition. Some people are reclaiming the word.
Yes.
Other people are like, I don't like it because it's kind of rude. So
yes. I know at least for us, we do find some power in it. And we will be using terminology that is similar throughout this podcast, for this podcast panel. So if that's something that does bother you, we do apologize, but we are stating up front, we will be using words like Fujin, Fujo, and Fudon. Again, we understand that there are some people who are less okay with these words.
Yes.
We definitely don't mean it in any way that's derogatory, obviously.
Right.
But just a heads up in case. So a Fujoshi in this instance, and in all instances, is typically a fan, usually female presenting, that is one who is attuned to and appreciates the yaoi and shonen arts.
Yes.
Now, we do have to give a caveat that excludes a lot of Western media. So a lot of your hetero ships, your super hulock, which is a statement that aged me 50 years, that typically doesn't get folded into the same as being a Fujo. So we're mainly talking in the anime, manga, video games, depending on who is being asked.
Right.
But again, your video games coming from Asia typically.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, if you're like a Final Fantasy
Yeah, they would often get folded into Fujo rather
Yes.
than, I don't know, has America made a good video game? We're going to get comments about that one.
I literally can't think of.
Yeah, I literally can't. Anyways.
I mean, I'm also not, to be fair, I'm not a
you're
huge
also
gamer.
Like not a
so,
gamer.
Yeah, to be
any
fair.
of you guys shipping Tetris, which is Russian.
I was gonna say that's not even an ink because I love that. That's my favorite game. Anyway.
It's a great game. But so that's what a Fujoshi is. If you're at FujoCon, I'm assuming you know, but you know, we have to this is just for the culture. What we do. Now, I am old. Aisha is older than me, and that's all.
Yes.
Now, I say that because I get to approach this from a very, very different perspective as far as I was in the trenches during the glory days of shonen and yaoi fandom in America. So when I said at the top of the show, when Aisha at the top of the show that some of us do be wilded, I'm going to go ahead and point us back to 2004 to about 2012.
When you were wilding in these streets?
When we were wilding.
Because you were at home raising a baby.
You were at home married with a child. I was a little shit goblin cranking out smutty fanfic despite having no idea about what I was writing physically, spiritually, or emotionally.
I'm just imagining like little you and then he inserted.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, but like handwritten on paper because I wasn't keeping that show.
I guess that's right. Yeah.
I've said this before on the show. I did not write my stuff on a computer forever because my aunt would find that.
Right.
So I wrote my shit on paper because she just assumed that was homework.
That's just,
if my auntie hears this. First of all, I don't know why. But
I mean, also you're grown. Like what?
Yeah,
well, you know what?
I'm grown.
I was gonna say, what's she gonna do? Beat your ass? But then I was like, well,
that's just assault.
She might.
But so what we do comes in a myriad of forms. Some of it times it's podcasting, as Aisha and I do. Sometimes it's writing shipping manifestos and headcanons and cosplay and writing and drawing. Like what we do definitely depends on the individual Fujo. I'm not going to gatekeep the Fujo experience. Right. There are some people that will.
Which is interesting because I guess for me, I feel like if you read and enjoy, or you don't even have to enjoy it. I mean, even if you hate read it, I guess.
If you're just hate reading a bunch of gay stuff. Yeah.
At that point, you're a fan, okay?
At that point, you're a tsundere and you're a fan.
But like, I mean, you can be a Fujo. Just you don't have to do what we're doing, like. But so we're not gatekeeping, but I can see where people would be like, well, if you're not doing this, or if you didn't read this, or if you're not into this.
There's also a lot of age keeping with it now, because again, like there's some of us that were in the old guard that were like, if you weren't hurting people with your yaoi paddle at Acon 1,000 years ago, you're not really.
That is,
and that's a very small subset of the old guard, because most of us really are just too old for that. But there is the occasional like cusp person who really wasn't there but says that they were there and is like, you weren't a real fan unless you did this. Like, you weren't in the trenches either. Those of us in the trenches are like legit in an old folk home right now.
Wow. I was just about to say, like, wow, are people really out there like lying for? But then, duh. Why? I don't know why I was going to ask
it's
that.
The internet,
course.
duh.
Of course they are.
So that's who we are and what we do. But with that can come some dislike. If you listen to our show, we recently had an experience with some people that decided to run a train over us.
Yeah, and it wasn't fun.
It was not.
It wasn't a good train.
It was not a good train. We won't go into that because it triggers both of us.
Yes.
But what's interesting about the Fujo experience, as far as hate, sometimes is that it really does come from both sides occasionally. Sometimes within the community, and also from outside. there's a myriad factors into that conversation. Number one is probably not as obvious as it should be, but I'm pretty sure Aisha knows because it starts with an M.
Oh, misogyny.
There we go. It's a word that we talk about a lot.
A lot.
I will go ahead and blame my liberal arts education.
I mean, or, you know, common sense. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
a lot of it is misogyny. And when we say misogyny, that doesn't just mean men being mean to women.
Right.
There's a ton of internalized misogyny in culture. In theory, you could say that yaoi is nothing but internalized misogyny. But that's a different episode.
Because them uke.
Yeah, that's a can of worms that neither of us are ready to open right now.
No.
So that disliking, one, is oftentimes rooted in a lot of misogyny. It's also rooted in, and I'm leaning on Aisha a little bit because, again, she has that kind of like outsider looking in perspective at times. I've mentioned a few times we do be wild, and we can be insufferable, can't we?
Yeah.
Like, we can be the most, right?
Like, you know, as Amanda mentioned, you know, I because I was an adult when I started reading yaoi, BL, shonen ai, all that stuff, I didn't really get into the deep into the fandom. Like, I know I am on the internet, but like I post and run away, you know, like
and sometimes literally
I just run away. Wow. And so for me, it is very much like standing on the outside looking in, and sometimes y'all be doing a lot. A lot. And I do consider myself a Fujo, but like, again, it's like, I'm not doing all of that. Like,
yeah.
It can be a lot.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight like gatekeeping that experience, because I do feel like, especially in the Fujo world, because so many of us are on like a level 100. Anyone under that looks so casual.
Yes.
But that's because all of us are just running on X Games mode. And for some of us, we've been doing that so I can say that I've been a Fujo for over 15 years. Some of us have been on X Games mode for 15 years plus. So that gatekeeping, a lot of times that you'll see, is honestly just rooted in, this is our lives. I've been doing this for I'm 30 now. This has been half of my life. Like,
I'm over here like, aren't y'all tired? Imagine how tired
we are. We're exhausted.
Imagine how tired.
We're exhausted. It's like, honestly, it feels like Game of Thrones, like the Night's Watch, where we've just been here. We don't know a world outside of the wall. We've been.
Oh my gosh!
That's someone dropped us off one day. We learned its ways, and now we're just here. We can't leave. We can't reintegrate into society. This is just what happened.
And then some like hapless newcomer stumbles upon, and
we're just barking at them like in fucking Black Panther. Just some hapless noob wanders in.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna.
Now we're gonna go into some strategies on what we can do about that behavior, because again, I understand that because I've definitely done that. Like, I've looked at newer fans and been like, you don't understand the darkness. I was born in the darkness.
I mean, I've seen you do it. So
Aisha has seen you do it.
Witness this.
And has promptly hit me with a stick afterwards.
I have gotten messages like, if you heard or if you felt this, like, what the floor rumble, that was. I'm like, oh my god, she's over there fighting again. The girls are fighting.
We do be doing the most sometimes. I'd say I apologize, but that's inauthentic. I'm not sorry, and I never will be. That is an inauthentic response. I am not sorry for my behavior, and I never will be. So when you're not an unrepentant asshole like I am, what can we do about this Fujo hate? We also didn't go into another major factor about Fujo hate. Some of it is also displaced homophobia.
Yes, I was also going to mention too that
By all means,
there is this assumption that Fujoshi fetishize like gay men, like,
and those
which
people are
some
wrong.
do. And some I will say that there are some probably out there who do. I don't know that. I don't personally talk to people who do that.
I don't know her. She doesn't go here.
I don't know her. But that is a sentiment that I've heard people like throw. Like,
I've also heard the Earth is flat.
Right.
That's a sentiment I've heard.
They're like, oh, you're fetishizing gay men, and I'm like, these are fictional characters. Like, I'm not outside telling to now kiss. Like,
yeah, no one's going out. Well, not anymore. In ye olden days when some of us were wild.
Y'all, listen, it's probably people that have heard those stories from back in the day, and they think that it still happens.
I'm just saying, I will not be judged for the amount of times I've asked voice actors to kiss. I'm just kidding. I've never done that.
Oh, I was shocked. I was like, wait, really? No. You?
Absolutely. Me? No,
right. I was like,
not. Acquaintances. Yes. So what can we do about that? Guys, we've mentioned a lot of doing the most and Wilden.
Stop.
I'm not gonna say stop. Because again, some of us have been doing this for a very long time. Relax. One thing that tends to get Fujos dinged a lot is our exuberance.
Yeah, we do tend to be, and I will put myself into this category as well. Just very excitable. Like the thing that we like, we really like, and we want to tell people about it. We're excited about it, even if you're not as expressive as, like, say I am, there's still a great love for it, and we're like, this thing, you need to read this, and we can be a little,
we can be
a little overbearing.
Obsessive is a word that comes to mind. We also, I know, at least like for the older generation, we weren't always great with boundaries in that. Because I know a lot of us didn't necessarily see yaoi as pornography. So there was a lot of like lovingly forcing our friends to read stuff. And it's like, oh, that's a whole dick. Like, some people don't want to see that.
Right.
So a lot of that tends to be stemmed in a few things. One is many of us are neurodivergent in some way, be it whether on the autism spectrum or with trauma or mental illness. Don't worry, your two hosts are in the same boat. And because of that, you get to see a lot of very personal attachments made to fictional characters.
Yes.
Because real people suck most of the time.
Yeah. I was going to disagree, but
I said most of the time. I was trying to give some leeway. You also see, at least, like, I know for me and my experience being genderqueer, you'll see a lot of projecting of like gender angst. So that can kind of make people a little bit uppity because they really attach to a character.
Right.
And it's not necessarily because they super, super like that character, it's that they want to absorb that character's gender.
Yeah.
Like via osmosis. Which I had that experience with Gravitation and Yuki Eri. I thought I had a really huge boner for him. No, I wanted to be him.
Right. And especially like when you are a younger Fujo, I think it's even more, you're even more likely to really get attached to a character, I think, because, especially like you were meant, like with, like you said, trauma, for example, like kids who are dealing with trauma, or really just neurodivergent people in general, but especially like kids dealing with trauma, tend to latch onto things that can kind of like as an escape, and they get attached.
They do.
And if you say anything, like if you're just like, yeah, I don't really like this, they're like, what? Like, you don't like this. And it's like
there isn't a separation between them and the work at that point. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to start up front with Be Chill, because I get that. I've done that. I've been there.
Yeah.
And it took honestly just like maturity. I think honestly like not liking things as much. It's not that I'm any less enthusiastic. Like I found better ways to get that energy out, and I found better people who are willing to listen rather than me just venting every unfettered thought I had onto the internet. Because like that's just irresponsible at this stage.
Yeah. And it's opening yourself. It's even if you don't mean to be like overbearing, or you know, like you don't mean to be like raw, people can take it that way, and it's a good way to start
a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a great way to just like invite in trolls, and if you've like super attached to a character, you're not ready for that. So be chill. It doesn't mean that you care any less. Again, like I'm not going to gatekeep the Fujo experience. You can still be super enthusiastic and not be ready to fight someone. Says literally the most pugnacious person on earth. I am 5'1" and I am ready to fight God or die trying. Be open to valid critique.
Whew, which is difficult.
Incredibly. This is one that also applies to a lot of the Fujo experience, which is the creation of works. We Fujo are a species that likes to express ourselves visually, and with the written word.
I agree with that.
But with that comes an absolute, the lowest bar for anyone to say anything that isn't ecstatic self-flagellation. If you are not being jerked off by every single person who leaves you a comment, you shut down.
Ooh, triggered.
Yeah, and I say that because I've been there. I'm still in that boat. I'm still on that.
Like when you like uploading something and just like waiting for the negative. It doesn't matter. Like
So my fan fiction updates every Friday, and I will sit there on AO3 and I will hit refresh every hour.
Waiting for the comments, and just like it doesn't matter. It's like you love the new, like you love the good stuff, but like as soon as like something just not even bad, it doesn't have to be bad.
Ambivalent.
It doesn't have to be bad. I've told you about how like sensitive I get when people are like, "Oh, your audio is a little bit this." I'm just like, "What?
Yeah,
how dare you?"
If you want Aisha to fight you, go on one of our old videos and say the audio's a little bit crackly, and just watch.
I'm like, "Do you have new microphone money?" I go, and it's like people are they're just like expressing like, "Hey, this would be more enjoyable if we could hear better," which is valid.
Yeah, I understand you.
Which is valid.
Right.
But me being sensitive.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to say valid, because I actually got into a Twitter fight with someone about this where they were posting fanfic and they said they didn't want comments on it. And it's like, why are you doing this if you didn't want critique? It's like, well, because I'm doing this for free and have my own time, blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you just wanted to jerk yourself off, just write and jerk yourself off.
Yeah, just keep it. I mean,
share it with like 5 friends on a Discord or something. Like, but you're publishing this online. Like, why would you do that? Like, that just didn't make sense to me.
Right.
So I can completely understand that mindset of like not wanting dumb critique. And again, like for Fujo credit, we do sometimes get accused of a lot of things that aren't valid. But I want to leave room open in there for valid critique. And I also mean that intrapersonally. If your friends are saying you're doing the most, some of them just want to crush your joy. That's 100% true.
Are they your friend if they're
gaslighting is a thing?
You know what? That's true. But dang, you know, oof.
I've called many people friends that want to crush my joy. They're not friends anymore.
Okay.
But at the time, you know, I thought they were helping. They were not. I thought they were helping. But you know, if you have a friend who genuinely is like, hey, I'm seeing a lot of butthole on my timeline because of what you're sharing.
Right.
That's valid.
Yeah, that is valid.
That's valid.
Yeah.
And then if they say, hey, I muted you, you got to run with that.
Right. You can't. Well, I guess you can't. let me not say what people can and can't do,
Yeah, like
but like
you
it
can be upset, but like they gave you a valid reason.
Right.
Like I know I have that with some of my friends because like so for me, like my day job is a social media manager. So my Twitter is not just my Twitter, it's also kind of my portfolio. So if I have male friends who are just out here wilding, retweeting like every kind of image and that shows up, I can't have that be a thing.
Right.
So yeah, like I'll mute tags, I'll mute people. I'm very aggressive with that. And it's nothing personal. And I've said it to their faces. It's like, you out here, that's a whole ass titty. I can't have that.
Right.
Like I can't have that on my feed, like my main feed. I have a smut feed for that no one knows about.
Right.
But it's like I can't like have you tagging me like on main with like a whole ass titty. I like it, but like I can't have you doing that. Be open to like valid critique. And honestly, your definition of valid may change. I know for me, and I've spoken to this, sometimes unfortunately valid is buried under a lot of bullshit.
Yes.
And it sucks. The story I told was there was a guy who left me a comment on one of my panels a long time ago that said that every time I swore he was taken out of the panel.
Okay.
And that wording, I was super triggered. It was like, this is a man trying to police my speech, blah, blah, blah. Don't tell me how to live. And it's like, you know what? But in that rude comment was a valid statement. I was swearing a lot. Now, it was then my job to listen or not listen. In that case, I didn't listen.
I mean, TBH, I would not have either. I would have been like, bleep, 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 bleep. Like, because stubborn.
Well, there was also like 30 million pieces of context. Like the panel that he went to was at night at an anime convention.
Oh.
And it was 18 plus.
Right.
So it wasn't like I wasn't lecturing at like Albert Hall or something. Then yeah, that's too much swearing.
Right.
But like we're in a hotel room at an anime convention at night at an 18 plus panel talking about fictional characters.
Right.
This is not a real TED Talk, friend. So there was valid critique in there that I ignored. But there was valid that I ignored. But there was valid critique in there. It took me a while to parse through it though. Because it was encased in bullshit.
Yeah. And I mean, as we tend to be like, most of us tend to be creative types, you know, and we all know that creatives tend to be very sensitive about their ish, you know, like it can be very hard to receive even valid critique when it's something that you feel like you really put like time and effort and love into, because most of us aren't just, I mean, we do take a lot of time out of our days like this, and it's a hobby and it's fun, but like we put so much into it, so you don't want your baby, like no one wants their baby to be called ugly, you know what I mean? Like nobody wants to
you can call your baby ugly, but no one can say it.
Exactly.
Yes, completely. Or you can't have that one friend who agrees with you too much. Like I know I've had that where it's like, I look fat in this, and it's like, you do.
The way my like, has that happened?
You turn real slow.
Has that happened to you? I would
not that directly, but yes.
I mean, I'm all for
that person is still alive for the record.
Like,
that has happened to me, but not that mean. It was like, you do look like you've gained a little weight, to which slow turn.
I would have been like, you look like you about to get hit.
You look like somebody's about to get smacked. So we open the valid critique again. Or the definition of valid changes person to person, instance to instance. I'm trusting that we all have a certain level of maturity that I know I don't have. But just try. This is a soft suggestion. know yourself. This is
Mm.
very metaphysical, but what I mean by that is, I think one of the big things, one of the biggest reasons why we do be wildin' is a desire to keep up with the Joneses. And so much of Fujo culture
Yes.
is performative and social.
Mm-hmm.
We already feel like we're the underdogs of the fan community, even though we're the ones driving trends.
Right.
There's a whole reason why Kyoto Animation is only known for doing anime that's vaguely gay with Twinkie men. It's because of Fujo's.
Because the buying power is.
Yeah. There's a reason why Kyo Annie has an entire style that is like just directly marketed to Fujo's.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why so many shows are being queer baity now. It's because of the buying power of Fujo's.
Mm-hmm.
They know they can hook anything that might have a ship that will sail.
Yep.
And the Fujo's will come. If you build it, they will come.
Yep. I mean, there's a certain...
There's a few series that I can think of.
Yep.
They're guilty of this, but we won't mention them here because we're trying to be less shady. We're not doing a good job.
There's also a company that realized, oh, you know what, the Fujos.
There's actually a couple of companies.
And look at
some of their social media managers that I happen to know. But we're not going to go there. So know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If that is not authentic to you, in real talk, it's not authentic to most of us.
Yeah.
Real talk, when I say that with love, real talk, it is not authentic to 99% of us. Don't. Yes. You don't got to fight everybody. You don't, this isn't a contest. It feels like it is a lot of the times, but it's not.
Right.
Be comfortable in yourself. And I know that's asking a lot.
Like, yeah. Also that depends on, like, again, level of maturity, where you're at in life.
Yeah.
So many of us we thought we knew ourselves and we're learning ourselves again.
Yeah, we had this thing called trauma, and we thought that we knew, but we did not know at all.
Right. But I mean, don't feel like you have to read what everyone is reading if you're not interested in it, for example. Because I feel like that's a thing. It's like, if you're not reading this, you're missing out, or you're not really a fan. And it's like, I don't really care about the series, though.
Right.
So
like we actually, on our main podcast, we did a whole episode on hauls, and I'm actually like kind of against them.
You're not kind of, like, you're pretty against. Yeah.
Just trying to be balanced. I'm pretty anti hauls because it does create this unrealistic standard for what a fan should be. Like, I love seeing these bookshelves of like thousands of manga. Bitch, I know you ain't read those.
I mean, just so you know.
Not you. Not you personally. Let's get real defensive. I know you have read them. But I have seen many a curated, manicured shelf that I know you have not read those books.
For sure. I mean, and you know, I'm on the side of like, in general, like, I don't care. Like, if somebody wants, I don't, because I know for me, like, it doesn't, you already know, I'm very much like, if I don't want to read it, I'm not going to read it. So I don't care, but like, my brain doesn't work that way. But there are a lot of people whose brains do work that way, and they see what, especially if it's a creator, for example, that they really like, or, you know, or trust, they will just like buy things and it's like, no, you don't have to do this just to, you know, to be a good fan. Like,
yeah,
it's fine.
And especially like with being a Fujo, we're one of the more expensive fandoms.
Yeah.
Do not bankrupt yourself on this shit.
Right.
Now, I know, like, at least for most of us now, we are older, we have disposable income, and we are at our most powerful. But if you are younger, please don't bankrupt yourself on this shit.
Yeah.
Don't start those bad spending habits now.
Right.
It's not necessary. They're fictional characters. Fan art is free.
Yes.
It's illegal, but free. Just don't start those negative spending habits now.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, just, again, pay attention to your own taste and wants and things like that. I know we get a lot of questions about like, oh, you know, like, what should I read, such and such. And I'm always just like, you know what? Go, if you have a bookstore close to you that you can go to, just like walk around and see what's interesting to you instead of like, I don't want to discourage people from going online and looking at like their favorites, their favorite like manga tubers or bloggers stuff. I'm not discouraging that because I mean, obviously, we want y'all to listen to our podcast and watch their stuff.
We're
but
not
also,
YouTubers, are we?
Well, I am individually. So we're manga podcast. Well, anyway, you just admit it, okay? Embrace it and admit it. So, but like, you don't have to like, don't look to like all of your favorite creators solely to like to help you curate and grow your own collection. Like, don't do that. Yeah, like like, just, it's okay to just kind of browse and to see what, or even if you don't know, it's okay to pick up a rant, honestly. And be careful because you might end up scarring yourself a little bit, but just pick up something random and be like, what's this?
I'm going to go ahead and discourage that in the boys' love space.
Oh, you know what? This is, you know what? That's true.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and not say that. I, in good faith, cannot advocate that behavior at all.
That's fair because you know what? There are.
Yeah. So I'm going to distance myself from that statement about yay far. I cannot in any way advocate that sentiment.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, know yourself, know your limits, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially.
Yes.
I talk about this a lot. Like, I know we tend to think of like conventions when we used to have them, like that being almost like a mecca. You know what? Conventions are hard. It's hot. There's a lot of people. They're expensive. And if you don't like that experience, don't go.
Fair. I've not been to one yet, so
I like them a lot, but I also am complaining every single day I'm there. It's like 3 days of complaining, and then I'm driving home like I had a great time.
That was so fun.
While most of my time is spent in the hotel room eating and watching television. And I'm in a wig for like an hour and a half complaining.
That actually sounds...
It's not bad.
So fun. Like just sitting in hotel room eating.
Yeah, we go to a lot of nice restaurants. It's actually really fun. So that's know yourself. Know when to walk away.
Ooh.
I'm a petty asshole. I can acknowledge that. This is something that I'm still learning. And this is something that the youths within our community could definitely stand a refresher on. No one is making you do anything. This is not compulsory. This is not a Clockwork Orange. No one has tied you down and is making you ingest anything.
Right.
If you do not like something, you don't have... This is not an airline. You do not have to announce your departure.
You can literally just... You can just not. Like, you can
just not.
You can really just not.
You really don't have... You are not obligated to tell us your displeasure.
No.
Because realistically, we don't care.
No.
We just don't. I'm being a little bit veiled and cheeky here, but there's a lot of performative angst in online discourse spaces nowadays. But I don't like this ship. No one asked you.
Right.
I don't like this. Cool. You were not consulted. No one has asked your opinion, and we certainly don't care. Because it's often done on a post of that thing, and then like quote retweeted or something, and say, I don't like this. Why are you here?
Yeah. You know, something that I have, like, I think I've mastered the art of like starting to quote tweet something and then just being like, you know what?
Yes.
Like once I type out what I want to say, I feel good and I just delete it.
Yes. There's so many things that don't need to be said.
Right. It's really like, you don't have to say everything.
It costs $0 to mind your own fucking business.
Yeah. Like it's just...
It's not necessary.
It is really, and sometimes I'm legit for real serious. Like, type it out if you need to,
and then delete it.
But delete it, please.
I agree.
Please delete it. And because you'll feel so much, it's like that release. You're like, ooh, I said what I needed to say. Okay, delete. You don't need to retweet it.
Or talk it over with a friend. I know Aisha and I will feverishly text each other.
We'll see like tweets and be like, did you see?
Right. Like, I'm not saying don't be a bad person sometimes, because I can't promise sainthood. I'm definitely not holding anyone else to that standard.
Right.
But like, you don't have to do that in public. Also, don't do that at creators. Some of y'all rude. Don't do that to creators. Don't do that to voice actors. Don't do that to creators. Don't do that to translators. You don't have to do that. If you don't like something, you are not obligated to give a negative opinion in that way.
Yeah.
Now, you can be like us, where we have a format that we can express those negative opinions. I know both of us are reviewers in our own special ways. And we come together and we're extra judgy. There are ways to express negative opinions about things.
Yeah.
But you don't have to at a voice actor.
Right. Oh my gosh.
You don't have to quote tweet an artist.
You don't have to insult them, especially. I think that's the thing that makes me the most angry is like when they're not just critiquing the work. They're like insulting the creator. And I'm like, what?
Caveat, sub caveat. Also, don't be racist when you do that.
The amount of people who consume media from Japan, we'll say Japan, in this case, and are so racist.
If we can even keep this local, like just fan to fan. We do be fighting. You don't have to do that. The discourse of the olden days was very structured. You build headcanons so you can protect your ships. Remember, cannons protect ships. That's why we have them. You are never attacking a person. You're attacking a ship. Now, if I say something and you reply, you're homophobic, you're blank, you're blank, you're blank, you're not attacking my ship anymore. You're attacking me.
Right.
And that's called harassment. And that's also called a crime.
And it's called, you gonna catch these internet hands.
Yeah, it's also called, I'm going to fight you. Yeah. It's also called, I'm going to fight you in an alley. But just know when to walk away. And even if it's a positive experience, I know, like, I've finished series and like, I need a nap.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to immediately be on to the next thing. It's okay to take a break.
Yes.
Go take a break.
Always.
Learn the difference between discourse and a fight. We talked about this a little bit, but I want to dig into this point a little bit more. Remember, if there is someone who does not agree with you in a respectful manner, they should not be attacking you as a person. And then it is your responsibility to see that, to hear that, and to not turn it into an argument. Because at the end of the day, these are fictional characters. There is a YouTuber that I follow who's a video essayist, and he was talking about Star Wars. And Star Wars is definitely one of those like toxic fandoms. And he said, at the end of the day, never forget that Star Wars is a space western that was made for children. And people got mad at him, but it's like, but that's true. It's been so cool to minimize stuff like that in my head because it doesn't make it less powerful to me, but it puts it into perspective. If you're ever hurling insults at someone over a TV show, you really need to reevaluate your life.
100%. I genuinely cannot imagine spending my time doing that. Now, I guess there are some people, honestly, if it's something that brings you joy, if it brings you genuine joy and you just like really love to fight on the internet, have fun. But for me, It's not. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's not
I
fun.
no. It's really not. And that's not to say that I know that it's not fun because I have gotten into like light fights on the internet that weren't started by me, and I was just like, you know what? What am I doing? Let me. What am I doing? Let me just.
And that honestly goes in both directions. It's good discourse shouldn't feel like an attack, but
Right.
also if you're receiving it as an attack, what's going on internally? I know I've projected my own feelings into something that is just discourse, and
Yeah,
then I
you
get
know.
upset.
Yeah.
And again, as we mentioned in slide 1, with a lot of us being neurodivergent, it's really hard to read tone on the internet. Sometimes something that really is just a valid statement or a flatter statement feels like a fucking fight.
Yes.
And it's not. So learning that difference is really important. And that also goes a little back to knowing yourself. So knowing sometimes what arguments do trigger you or what statements do make you feel like are minimizing the conversation too much. And also then just having the strength in yourself. I think the biggest thing for me is so one of my best friends, he super can't stand shonen anime, and I know Aisha's been very critical of it as well.
Yeah. Mostly like tongue in cheek, but also
tongue in cheek, she says. And it's funny because like he'll really ding on some of my favorites, like shows that were formative to me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I love those shows so much
that it
doesn't matter.
Right.
You can keep throwing rocks. I've been in this for 20 years. You're not
Yes. That
keep going. Like you're not gonna diminish. And the cool thing is like I concede some of his points. Like, you know what? That's valid. It is dumb. It's my dumb, but it is dumb.
Yes. I guess because I have like manga has been a thing that I've been into for a long time. And for a long time I was by myself. Like I wasn't in like a fandom. And you know, Mr. Manga doesn't give 3 craps about manga. And so like there were so many times when I would sit there and like explain something to him and he's just like, wow, that's dumb. And I'm like, you know what? It is. But I enjoy it, you know?
Exactly. So like at the end of the day, especially Yaoi is so absurdist. I don't know why we argue over any of this. Why are we fighting? This shit is insane, y'all. And we love it. Like, that's not said in hatred. We love it.
Right.
But this shit's crazy, y'all.
Like, when you really look at it, most of it is so just...
This stuff
just
is
wild.
Just relax. Don't be a dick. There's someone on the other end of that screen. The internet is a wonderful system of tubes that gives us porn and cats.
Which is really all you need.
Yeah, and you can order food.
Get out of my head, because I was just...
We record these late at night and usually before dinner. So
and I'm smelling the food right now that's being cooked.
But because of that, it's easy to say every unfettered thought you've ever had. Don't.
Yeah.
There is another person on the end of that screen. And I don't mean to be like a Static Shock episode, but yes. Yes. I'm not here to preach to any of you. I'm not here to be like, bullying is bad. I mean, one, you know that, and two, if I have to say that to you, you've not absorbed the lesson. And you may never. And that's okay. But just there's not a need to be a dick. And again, like that's a both ways conversation.
Yes.
And if someone's being rude to you, ignore them.
Yes, because there's really no like, engaging with it is only going to honestly it's just gonna hurt you more, you know what I mean, because you're just gonna be riled up and they're just getting what the person who's being a dick is,
they're being fed.
You're
feeding them
exactly. So yeah,
and it's frustrating, don't get me wrong, like there's no joy in it. There's no joy in being the bigger man. It's exhausting,
right?
But sometimes you have to be for your own mental health. So how do we do it as Aisha and I? You know, how do we stay balanced and fair and above the fray.
Mm.
I think one of the biggest things that one of the reasons I've always admired and been grateful to have Aisha as my partner in this experience.
My ugly face. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Is that we approach this from different sides, and it's nice to have a grounding force. Because again, I come from ye olden days, and I have been wildin', and I have been wildin' for almost 20 years. So to have someone who is like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm just like
with love.
Yeah,
just look me in the eye like, what the fuck are you doing?
It comes from more so like, I'm also old and tired, and I'm just like, it's not, but we also have established that I have a tendency to just do whatever I want, like kind of sometimes regardless of like what other most of the time.
I don't know if we can say we've established it. It just keeps happening. We haven't established anything. It's a continuing circumstance that I've learned to navigate.
So
I'm being abused.
So I am generally unbothered by things that I don't care about. And so when people like, I don't care about fighting on the internet, so I'm just like unbothered by it. And so when I will say that sometimes I do, there are some times when I have encouraged Amanda.
This is 100% accurate.
Because sometimes I also enjoy it, and I'm like, I don't want to do it.
And
I don't want to
be using me as a scary dog.
I'm like, get her, Jade.
She likes using me as a scary dog when she's too much of a coward to fight herself. Because she knows I will.
Like, I don't need to say anything. I'm just gonna tell Amanda.
But I've always appreciated that Aisha is a grounding force in that. And
thank you.
I think the biggest thing how we do it is just, I think keeping in mind that there's another person on the end of that screen. I think having a job helps out a lot. Like I just don't have infinite time to do this. I just don't.
That's fair. That is very valid, because it's like, I have kids. Like, I'm running a whole household. Like
we have actual shit to do. Like, like, if I think about it, I get off work at 5 and I go to bed at 10. I have that many hours
like
before I have to go back to work. Am I gonna spend that fighting a fucking fetus?
Right.
I'm not. I'm just not. I'm gonna play Animal Crossing, and I'm gonna drink rum. And I'm gonna redecorate my island for the 30th time. And then I'm gonna write some gay porn, and then I'm going to bed.
Yes.
That's what I'm gonna do with my time. Yeah. I have finite minutes on this earth. I am a person who one day will die being spun around a mystic space rock, circling around a star that will one day explode, in a galaxy that is rushing incredibly close to its sister galaxy that will collide in a cataclysmic burst that has never been seen. Eventually, the universe will end. Entropy and chaos will take over, and there will be nothing. There will be no space, no time, no chaos, merely existence. And are you going to spend the finite amount of time you have fighting about a fictional character's cock?
No, especially because I have a real one I can play. Wow, I'm cutting.
Like a fucking cat toy, just pew. Oh my God. So that's how we do it. By being old.
Yes, honestly.
There are things to do. And I don't, like, Aisha, I'm going to go ahead and pick on the spot again. Does that make me any less of a fan?
No. No.
I'm going to go ahead and say for Aisha, it doesn't make her any less of a fan.
No.
We are not lessers of fans because we've looked at an argument and decided no, I don't think I will, and walk away. Now, sometimes we're not, and we do
Right.
fight.
Sometimes.
But sometimes we do fight, and we choose violence. Sometimes you wake up and you choose violence.
Sometimes, I'm not even gonna lie, sometimes I just get a wild hair, and I do like to tweet slanderous things about shonen anime.
And then
some of that I haven't even
gets overwhelmed. Text me.
I'm like, why did I
have
do this?
To go bark at people. And then she goes off for a walk in the woods like a goddamn forest nymph. That's how we do it. Remember, Fujin culture was entirely built on the foundation of using the social internet and social media for good. It was never meant to gatekeep, attack, harass, or be cruel. That is not the Fujin way.
Mm.
We thrived here in the US and abroad because of social media and because of the social internet. We should be using those powers for good.
Mm-hmm.
We have more access than ever to creators. And the fact that we use that to be shitty to them is disgusting to me.
So it's frustrating because I wonder if people understand that, like, the more you like harass and like berate creators, the less they're going to want their stuff translated.
Right.
Like, I've heard, and I know, like, it's not just like the Western fans who,
it's mostly us.
Yeah, but it's mostly yes.
It's about 90% us.
Yes, because I mean, I've seen on Twitter, I have seen like artists talk about that, like about how it's just there are artists that are afraid to have their like work translated into English because they don't know like what's gonna happen. There's a person that I follow who has recently locked their account because of stuff like that. So it's don't do it.
Yeah, just don't.
Just don't do it.
It's unnecessary. It's superfluous at this stage. And as the stakes grow ever higher, there's people that have lost their jobs because someone has doxed them or has called their boss and said something inflammatory. Like, the stakes are higher than they've ever been. I mean, back in the day, the worst that someone could do was maybe hack and maybe find where I live. But that was really hard back in the day. It's super easy to do that now. It's so easy to ruin someone's life right now. And that's just so antithetical to what our culture was about.
Right.
Which was entirely about, because I'm sure by now we use a lot of naval metaphor in the fandom space. And the whole point is that we're all on these ships in the ocean together. That was the point. Yes, it is staying in your lane, yes, it is your fleet, but we're all in this together in this ocean.
And High School Musical apprentice speech.
I'm gonna say something. I've never seen that movie.
You know what? You don't need to. Okay. You don't need to, because you will be so upset about it. So don't.
Probably yes. This is 100% accurate. But yeah, like that's not what we were here to do. It's what we've done. But it's not what we were supposed to be here to do.
Right.
So what's next? Hopefully together we'll all work to just being a little bit less cruel. But until then, we need to stand up against harassment and cruelty in any form.
Yes.
You see something, say something. I think a lot of it does need to come from, and I hate making this an ageist argument, but I think a lot of it does need to come from the older fans telling these kids, hey, you're wilding in a way that we weren't.
Yeah.
You're wilding in a way that's taking it personally, and we didn't do that. We've also never gotten someone fired because they didn't like a ship. So, like,
right. That just,
It's a lot.
It's so much. I just can't imagine. But again, I'm also old, so
yeah. Again, like we have finite hours to cram everything in. I'm not gonna spend it dead naming a creator.
Right. Also, I just don't think I don't get angry enough about that. Like that just I don't get angry enough about a lot of things to want to
and I will say a lot of that does go away with age and maturity, because I know my most wild and was when I had the most free time.
That is
because I had infinite energy to be a petty ass little goblin.
Because sometimes I got, you know what I mean? You listen, sometimes we do have time. So.
Yeah, sometimes we make time. But when I was 16, that's all I had.
Was time.
I had time. So
maybe you know what? You know what's next? Do better things with your time, y'all. When you have free time, you don't need to go. I mean, you can go online and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this ship," and just leave. Just leave.
Yeah, just leave.
You know, Twitter has a thing now where you can make it so that no one can comment unless you at them. If you just want to say something and you don't want anybody to like actually try to like argue with you, just make it so that they can't respond.
Yeah,
just
write it on a piece of paper and throw that into the ocean.
And burn it, you know,
burn
and like
it in a fire.
Actually, you know what? Don't do that because I don't want to encourage. Never mind.
Yeah, we're gonna get sued because someone fucking set their house on fire.
Right.
Gonna be artsy. Okay. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. We had a great time. I wrote this weeks ago, so I'm assuming we had a great time.
I mean, at the very least, we had a great time recording this.
I don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks.
Right? It's like,
but at this current moment in time, I had fun.
We'll let y'all know when we
we'll give you an update.
When we're
doing great. These are all the places that you can find us. We host a podcast that is a lot like this.
It's this.
It's the exact level of chaos.
It's this.
Actually, a little bit longer. It's this. Anchor.fm/the Yaoi or really any place you find your podcast. You can find us on YouTube if you like to see more of our pretty faces and varying scales of pretty. I know tonight I look like a hobgoblin. I look like a hobgoblin. On Twitter, which is mostly me screaming into the void.
Every now and then I pop in and say something weird.
And it's just so chaotic and ruins everything. I have this beautifully orchestrated house, and Aisha will come in, kick down all of the bushes, just knock down shelves, and then leave.
I'm
stuck with the wreckage.
I'm that person who like you invite to your island and they start like shaking your money tree
up my trees,
running on your flowers.
My trees are gone. I have no more rocks.
I stole all your fruit.
There's no more fruit. God damn. We also have a Discord server, which is again mostly me working, and Aisha occasionally works.
I lurk and
Aisha works and occasionally provides a singular witty comment. Singular.
It's always one. Or I'm talking about like, hey, let's celebrate with cake. It just I don't know. Sometimes
it's a singular comment. Singular. And then I'm over here up late past my bedtime because we still had users in chat. I'm like, in bed. I'm on my side in bed, typing on my phone. Hello, everyone. I hope you have a good night.
You're so like kind in there and just like talking to everyone. And I'm just like,
and Aisha's over here. We'll say one statement and
bye. Just popping in to say and then
I
leave.
no longer accept that ukes are the most abused. If someone doesn't in the arms of an angel me, good lord, my rights are being infringed upon.
I am definitely the you know, I don't know if there's a name for the type of character that I would be in a BL.
Bossy ass pillow princess. What you are. But if you like this conversation, typically again with more chaos, if you can believe it. We'd love to have you. We usually publish an episode once a month with a live stream once a month. So technically you get 2 episodes a month.
Yes.
Don't let anyone lie to you about that.
The live streams are lit too. Like they're usually
3 to 4 hours long. They're usually 3 to 4 hours long. And if you want to see some high quality Wilden, there it is. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
The conversation can always continue. We're happy to be here, and thank you to FujoCon.
Yes.
Bye,
thank y'all so much.
Oh my god.
Oh, look at us. Okay, wait. Does it have to be an hour and a half or just within an hour and a half?
Yeah, it's just within.
Okay, so good.
This will probably be about an hour, I'm sure.
Okay.